Everything in life is story. Story is how we share ideas, politics, vision, fantasies, experiences, even our hopes and dreams. The Gibson Gazette is a podcast show devoted to story. Those we consume, those we tell ourselves, and those told to us. I am the co-host, L. Michael Gibson, or LMG, and I am joined today by my co-host, Anne Marie Collymore, or AMC. Hey, AMC, how are you doing today?
I am living. I am
Oh,
alive.
living.
I'm breathing.
Oh, wow.
I'm living because I'm hanging on a thread.
Oh, a different kind of living. Oh, okay, I got you now.
Yeah. I think you know what? Honestly, because I'm just like always excited about my birthday every year. Listen, y'all, no joke. I'll get into it a little bit later, a little bit more, but I literally almost died 4 years ago giving birth to my son. So when I tell you that I enjoy every birthday like it's not a game, I enjoy every birthday like it's not a game. So this year I'm going in and my birthday's on Monday. So, you know, I'm just trying
Mm.
to squeeze in all of the stuff that I have to do work wise, life wise, and all of that so that I could just run amok this weekend.
All right, run amok.
Run amok.
All right. So it sounds like you have big plans. You want to give us some of the details of those plans? And what
Yeah,
club or bar can we
sure.
join you over in Toronto?
You know what? It starts tomorrow night. My brother is he's a promoter and he's also a DJ. He's been a DJ for a very long time. And he is bringing down one of the sounds from Jamaica, Bass Odyssey. So it's going to be a very interesting night. It's going to be dope. It's going to be straight up dance hall kind of vibe. Got my outfit, got my hair did, the whole nine.
Come through
Um,
outfit.
Yes, sir. There will be pictures on Instagram, so you'll see them all there. If you follow with me, you'll see them there. Soul Aphrodisiac. But I know it's gonna be a vibe because they're an old set. They really deep dive into like old reggae. So it'll be really dope. I can't wait. I'm really excited. Should be a good show.
Are you really excited?
I'm really excited. Yeah. And there's gonna be libations,
I,
so come
I,
on.
I hear the people. Y'all heard the people, right? Like she said, really excited. So, and how young will you be?
Really?
Did we share how young you would be this birthday? Was
Sure,
that
man. I got good genes. I'll be 47. So,
okay?
yeah, that 50 coming around the
Welcome.
corner, like you say.
Well, yeah, exactly. Welcome to 47. I beat you to that earlier this year, so that's
Thank
what's up.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
So, what stories have you been consuming over the last 2 weeks that you want our audience to know about? But we're not going to go too deep into it about today.
Well, I'm sure everybody is tuned into this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. I think it's just a multitude of mess, as I like to call it. There are so many different layers with this thing here. And the thing is that I'm not even watching it like every day. I'm not that deep into it. But the clips that I've seen online, the clips I've seen on social media, and the articles that I read, that's enough to keep me up to date, really and truly. So, I mean, regardless of how much you try, you get pulled in. I feel that way, anyways. You can catch all you need, as I said, through the articles and everything. You don't have to watch the entire trial. So here are my takes from the whole thing, from what I've seen so far, anyways. Amber Heard, she's a bold-faced liar. I finished. That's it. Like she she just that girl can lie, yo.
Talk about
Jesus.
being short and to the point, people.
Listen, man, boy, I remember anytime we tell a lie, my dad would look at us and be like, "You lie, you just lie." That's it. That she is a bull-faced liar. And the thing that's really horrible about that is that if she was abused in some way by Johnny, which I kind of think that she was, she's now made it really difficult for herself to even like assume a victimized role. Um, the lies that she's told on the stand, the way she's been caught in those lies, her subpar acting on the stand, like made me gag. I just there was something happened. I can't even remember. I think they were both she was finished on the stand. Johnny got up. Johnny looked like I was either going in her direction or was going to approach her, and she recoiled like she was so terrified for her life. I was like, really? Come on. And it really came across very, very fake. It was not genuine at all. So for me, it's really extremely difficult to even give her the benefit of the doubt, and especially after hearing that tape. Now, for Johnny, while he may seem like the victim here, and in many facets, I see that he is, but on the other hand, he's still an abuser, right? Allegedly, allegedly. Let me just throw in that allegedly there, boy.
I'm about to say you
But
trying to get us jammed up.
allegedly in caps, because I'm not playing that. But but because he spiraled out of control with his drugs and drinking, and he wasn't able to break all of that generational trauma that he's carrying, and he's carrying a lot of it, it still doesn't give him the right to abuse anyone, right? So, however, it's really clear that he needs a lot of help, therapy, rehab, like just a lot of time to fight his demons and get right. Both of them have collectively ruined each other's careers, and I'm just really curious to see how this is going to play out in the end because they're both suing each other with the counter suing and the suing and the suing. Listen, man, there's so much going on. I want to see how this is going to end for both of them. Also, just on top of that, my latest obsession right now, because of course I'm late to everything, is Top Boy. I was kind of like trying to stay away from it, but I got sucked in. And now after like the last show when we were doing it, I realized I was on a bruv and a bruh tip, and that's because I'm watching the stupid show. Okay? So that's it. That's my thing. What you gotta say? What do you have to say about this Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing?
I mean, honestly, I've not been paying close attention intentionally. But as you say, things seep through.
Hmm.
And, I'm not as convinced as you are that Depp is an abuser. I think he's an abuser apologist. I think some of the things he's come out with publicly in
Hmm.
support of other abusers, like
Kill me, please.
makes him suspect. I believe him. I believe that I do believe there was fighting between the both of them. And there's some people who believe that if a man is ever fighting a woman and a woman fighting, a man, or even if she instigated it, then he's the abuser.
Hmm.
You know, I think
Yeah,
everybody keep their
yeah.
hands to themselves.
Hmm. Yeah, period. For
You
real.
period. I think we should just we live by that. We'll be everybody be okay.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'm not necessarily convinced that he hasn't hit her out of self defense. Um,
Right.
and I'm not saying that as because I'm this dude who supports, like, I'm usually the I believe women. But as Chris Rock recently said, I believe women except Amber Heard.
There you go. There you go. He's on point on that. Oh man.
And and anytime you got me quoting Chris Rock's conservative ass, like, that's
Mm,
already a problem. But
right.
yeah, the whole thing is, this probably should go in our it's complicated section. It's you lost me when you put shit in the bed. Like, I don't. There's no coming back from leaving shit in the bed, which is what Amber Heard supposedly, allegedly has
Uh
done,
huh. Yeah.
as part of the
She
trial
blamed
that
it on
came
her
out.
dog.
But that was pretty clear to say he knows what dog shit looked like, and that was not dog shit. I don't care what kind of shit it was. It was shit in the bed, and as somebody
Right.
who thinks of my bed as pretty sacred, I don't like that would be.
Mhm.
We would be divorced from that moment on. There would be no
Mhm.
debates, no fights, no conversation. The second I saw shit in the bed, that would have been walking papers for me.
Hashtag
Because
bye bye.
because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much. Where do you go from there? The depths of hell, like the fourth chamber, like the shit in the bed, folks. Like there is
Right?
not a whole.
How
I
is
mean,
that
there's
okay?
only digging trapdoor tunnels to the demise
Oh
of your relationship from that point. So no,
no.
I was not. Yeah, like I said, I've not been paying that much attention, but what I have heard, um, soured me. I do, part of kind of this. I mean, I've heard that the Aquaman 2 is trying to,
Mhm.
excise her out of the film. Um,
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't even make the connection that Amber Heard was that same character. Was the actress playing that character in the film?
Yes.
And I love
Yes.
Aquaman, but did not in my head. I couldn't pick Amber Heard out of a lineup if you asked me to right now. Like I just it's not. She's
Yeah.
a
Well,
very
because she doesn't
forgettable,
stand out like that,
right?
right?
Like
Yeah.
she's a very very forgettable
Exactly.
white girl. So
Right. Right.
so they were like, oh, they're trying to figure out how they can cut her from the Aquaman 2. And I was like, she was an Aquaman? Like, like I
For
know, and I
for
quite
me,
frankly think more people probably have that feeling about it. Like they might have looked her dead in her face throughout the whole first movie, didn't register,
yeah.
didn't make the connection, and had they not put out this press stuff around it, we probably could have watched Aquaman 2 and not thought twice about her and Johnny Depp.
So true, so true. I think you know what in Justice League that was that little cameo that she had. Her hair was blonde, and then when she was in Aquaman, her hair was dyed red. So
Ah,
when it started, I was like, "Who's Amber Heard? Who the hell?" And they're talking about Aquaman, Aquaman. So when I looked it up, I was like, "Oh, her!" Because the red hair, like, if she was traipsing around with the red hair, I would have been like, "Oh, it's her." But because that blonde, mousy kind of look, just it didn't do anything for her really. So she didn't really stand out to me. But yeah, that's the
I
chick,
have this
man. That's
issue
her.
with semi-famous people all the time. Like Melanie Fiona, is one of those artists who I probably could never pick out in a lineup either. Like there are people
I
who
re-
come up,
I
who
remember
come
us having this
around,
conversation a long time ago. I think
right? Like
seriously, yeah,
there are certain
yeah.
people who achieve fame and success, and I will have seen their picture 100 times, and if they tap me on the shoulder in the grocery store line, I would be like, "Why are you touching me? Who are you?" And
Oh
Amber
man.
Heard, it's like Blake Lively, her. I mean, there's a bunch of these women
Oh no, I love
stars
my
who.
Blake. No.
I
Mm-mm.
mean, I like Blake Lively in that one movie with God that they just decided, A Simple Favor. And the only reason
Oh, I
I
love that movie.
recognize that she's in it as a star is because I just saw the announcement that they're going to make a sequel.
No
So
way.
yeah, they're making a
Sweet.
sequel. Yeah, they just
Oh,
announced
that's
that like in the
dope.
last week or so. And so I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Blake Lively's in that. And I own the
Okay, I've
Blu-ray
loved her
for
since
it.
Gossip Girl, so that's why
Right.
I guess
Oh, see,
maybe I
yeah.
just followed her after that. So yeah, I've just always been a fan of hers.
And I'm a pop culture nerd, but some of these folks for me become very interchangeable
Hmm.
unless they've been
Hmm.
unless there's something that I'm really really focused on with them. In any case, I hope this trial comes to a conclusion very soon, so that we can all go back to our humdrum lives without hearing about shit in bed.
Ugh.
So for
Your
myself,
turn.
mine is
Yes.
not nearly as thrilling or as exciting, which is probably reflective of my of my last couple of weeks. I have been on vacation, so I have been or trying to be on vacation, the first 4 days of a vacation ended up being a lot of work with clients, and I was like, this is not vacation. And then I kind of had like a good 11 or 12 day run of vacation days, and then today I'm back working. So I've been watching The Circle season 4 on Netflix. Can't get enough. For those who may not be familiar with The Circle on Netflix, it's an American reality competition that premieres. This is the 4th season, so the new season premiered May 4th. Michelle Buteau is the host of the show, stand-up comedian. For those who may not be familiar but think they know the name, she's most recently been in the First Wives Club with Jill Scott. She's the other thick, light-skinned girl in that show. The show consists of 13 episodes. They release 4 every week, and the finale is coming up next week. So next Wednesday or Thursday, one of those, is whatever May 25th is when they're going to show the finale, and we'll get to figure out who wins. So in The Circle, players compete against each other to become the most popular, but never actually meet. Like they have profile pictures of themselves that they've posted up, and they have chats, and it's a very kind of special chat system because it's verbal. Like, so they tell the chat what what with like voice recognition technology, and including the emoji that they want, and they like send messages to each other, and they play games, and they have competitions, and they have parties, but they never actually see one another physically. And so through this, they compete to see who's going to become the most popular. They'll create alliances with each other because periodically the game will have them rate the players and kick out the person who has the lowest ratings. But this season, they've also complicated that a little bit. So this season, they played games because the first 3 seasons, it was kind of very routine how they did it. The top 2 influencers got to select which person was going home. But this season, they only did that maybe twice or 3 times so far. They've done it so that the influencers could pick people to save. They've given it so that they can, the lowest rating automatically left. They've done like variations to throw people off. In any case, this season also included 2 of the Spice Girls. Very random, right? Right. The season included, so normally it's like everyday folk, right? This season includes 13 players. But 2 of them were Spice Girls, Mel B and Emma Bunton, who were Scary and Baby Spice, for those who are from the 90s and remember those things. They were temporary guest contestants, and they were successfully able to catfish the other contestants in order to grow the winning pot. So like if you win The Circle, you get $100,000.
Okay.
So this year, because they were able to catfish the people into believing they were somebody else successfully, the pot got sweetened by $50,000. So now the take home is $150,000. So, right. And of course they had like several Spice Girl themed episodes as a result of that. but the thing, and so all of this kind of takes place in one single apartment complex. And I just found out today that they filmed this show in Manchester, England, in an apartment complex. The people are largely Americans, though sometimes they'll have a Brit in there, but usually it's like 99% people are Americans. And the apartment complex is prepared with 12 furnished, ready-to-use apartments for the players to live in for the duration of the season. Last season 2 winner, Delisa St. Agathe, her husband is in the game this time. So she already took home $100,000 a couple of seasons ago. Her husband, who is both cool and fine as fuck, is doing it this season. But because you get to play, you can catfish, you can like present yourself as somebody else. He's presenting himself as a woman named Amani, which creates some really interesting dynamics because sometimes flirtations are happening in The Circle. And in this particular season, there's, another black man in the show who's straight, and they're flirting with each other because he thinks he's
Oh,
talking to a woman.
right. Which just clicked for me because I was like, wait, he's oh,
These two straight men, one of whom is married to a prior winner, black straight men are flirting with each other, and you know, and
oh my
you
god.
know, that's kind of the dynamics, right? But you also have situations where, and one of the other couplings, you have a young Asian woman who was flirting with a middle-aged white guy who's married, and she thought she was flirting with a 22-year-old frat jock, right?
Oh
Like,
my
and they were like
god.
talking about lingerie and masturbation, and so it can get a little spicy
Whoa.
in the circle.
Okay.
In any
Huh.
case, I love this. The show is crazy, and I mean, and not everybody's that bright. Some of the people are playing strategy. Some people are just there for because they make good TV. But I
Mm,
love this show because it's a microcosm for how folks actually behave online. You don't know if you can trust people. You don't know whether or not people are who they say they are. You don't know if people
mhm.
are really good people but still catfishing, right? Like, so that
Right.
happens too. Um, and just as in real life, there's sometimes financial gain in catfishing folks, right? So I also love that there's always queer representation on the show, usually queer of color. This season, there is both a black lesbian woman, a bare black gay man who's of size, and a sexually
Hmm.
fluid Asian woman. They've had little people more than once, and an assortment of ages and bodies. Elders have played the game. Mother and sons have played the game together in the apartment trap together. And it's already been renewed for its fifth season. It's a hit, and features some high comedy throughout each episode. Thanks to Michelle Batu, because she comments on things and she makes fun of the folks throughout, and her little sidebar commentary on what's going on the screen is hilarious. So anyway, that's what I'm checking out. Is The Circle, and it is
Interesting.
totally a guilty pleasure that I can't wait to see the finale next week.
Okay. That sounds hella different. Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you
I
have
might
any?
have to check it
Do
out.
you have a reality TV show guilty pleasure that you watch? Any of the
Don't judge
games?
me.
Too hot to
Uh,
handle or Pleasure
no.
Island?
I Pleasure Island. That one my mother got me hooked onto.
Mm.
She loved her some Pleasure Island. And so her and my sister used to watch it. I'm like, what is this crap? And then I sat down and I watched it and got hooked. So I haven't I don't think I saw last season. Um, she was watching it. I know she was. I saw a little bit of it, but I didn't watch the entire thing. So I think I'm about a good, maybe one or two seasons behind. But I did watch the first one right through. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I won't lie. I've been wanting to watch Love Is Blind because everybody and their mama keeps on talking about it.
I love Love Is
Um,
Blind. I've seen every
yeah.
season.
Oh my gosh. I'm like,
I've
do
seen
I?
every
Do
season.
I?
Yes, you absolutely must. Yes. I mean, look. So I be rooting for the black folks, right? So I mean, one of the good things about all of these Netflix shows is black people be winning. Like, it's not. A lot of times with stuff like Top Chef, no shade.
Uh-huh.
The black people can get to the finale, but they can't win.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
in these Netflix shows, a lot of times, black folks win. Like Too Hot to Handle, like some of the first couples to win were black couples that were like loving other black people, right? So that was also,
Yes,
doesn't always
and that's
happen.
what I like to see. Right.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, to the point that I was like watching Too Hot to Handle Brazil and Too Hot to Handle Mexico. I was like watching,
Okay.
I was like in all the spinoffs. And same thing with The Circle. A lot of black folks have won. And what was the other
Mhm.
one? The one you were just mentioning, Love Is Blind.
Love Is
The
Blind.
first year couple was an interracial couple, and I
Okay.
didn't mind that the sister got that the sister got with the white guy, because the white guy was one, sexy as fuck, bodied for
Oh.
days, and apparently
Oh.
packing to hear her boast. And was
Woohoo!
super, and was kind of like a goofy nerdy guy who had got spent some time in the gym. You know, like somebody who probably was overlooked in high school, but built that body up real
Yeah.
tight as a grown up.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So
Big yaps.
he was giving you height, he was giving you body, he was giving you a coin. And they've
Mm,
been like one of the more successful couples from the show. So yeah,
nice.
I like to see black folks be able to win stuff. So Netflix
I
reality shows generally give you that.
I think my reality show binges usually tend to go to the shows. So I love of course Housewives, right? But I stick to Atlanta and I stick to New Jersey. And then I started watching Selling Sunset. I liked that show. Then I started watching the black version of Selling Sunset, which was pretty good. I don't know if they're coming
Mm.
back with another season, but they had one and it was
I
it was
watched
pretty
it.
good.
I don't watch the white version, but I did watch the black version of Selling Sunset. I will watch another season of that.
Yeah, it was pretty decent. So I always tend to go for those rather than the game shows. So that usually is my thing. Yep, yep.
Yeah, and I wouldn't watch a broadcast network game show, but these kind of game shows because they're usually requiring people to be incredibly vulnerable. Like
Uh-huh.
there's like this human element, like Too Hot to Handle. They're not allowed to have sex, so they're forced to try to actually get to know
Wait,
the person.
I never
The
even heard of that one.
Ultimatum. Oh yeah, yeah. That's Too Hot to
Too hot
Handle.
to
The one I was
handle.
saying, I was like watching
Yeah.
the Brazil version and all of that. And then there's
Yeah.
like the Ultimatum now that just came out earlier this year. It's a spinoff from Love Is Blind, and that was like
Okay.
married couples. Well, not married couples. Excuse me. One of the partners wants to be married. The other partner is resistant, and so the
Oh
partner
right.
that wants to be married threw an ultimatum down and it's a
Yes,
hot
yes.
mess. Like so, all
Yeah.
of those kind of shows where there's kind of a human vulnerability factor or a what the fuck, because Love Is Blind is they be like, I love you, you're they crying, you're the most important person in the world, and I'm like, you just met them like 3 weeks ago and you haven't
Five
slept with them
minutes
in a
ago. Like 5 minutes ago. I can't. I can't. It's like
and so there
for
is a
real?
what the fuck element to that show,
Yeah.
where you're like, I mean, and the same thing could be said even for Too Hot to Handle, for that matter. Like, yes, you were trapped on an island with these people for an extended period of time, man, and maybe you walked away from that experience. Like the great thing about those shows, they all have what do you call them? Reunion shows. So the
Uh-huh.
reunion episodes
Uh-huh.
is
Which
when you
are
find out,
man.
like, was that, did it end up lasting, or was it like as long as the cameras were rolling, it lasted.
Right,
So
right, right.
so
Interesting. Okay, okay. So I might have to
all
put it in
right.
queue.
Yeah, I mean, and all of this is, people don't judge me. All of this stuff is trash. Like none of the things I'm recommending. All of these are
Don't
time
judge.
wasters,
Don't judge
right?
us. Don't
Like they
do
are
it.
all
Just
time
don't do
waster shows. They are you could be writing your great American novel. You could be working your dissertation, sis. Like you could be getting that second language, that third software application. Like there's so much you could be doing with your time other than watching these trashy shows that we're recommending. But alas. Reminder, be
it.
sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share so you can learn more about Trash TV or on whatever platform you're listening to or watching us on. Also, comment or review where possible so that we can climb the charts of the various platform algorithms the show is on. And with that, I'm going to transition us to Loving It. Loving It, for those of you who are new, is the story, is the stories. Ooh, I'm real black today. Are the stories that we absolutely love and recommend people check out. You're up, AMC.
Yes, sir. So I am up with the best man reunion we didn't know we needed. I have been talking about this thing ad nauseum in my Instagram stories. I love The Best Man. The Best Man is one of my favorites, and I'm beyond ecstatic that the clan is returning for The Best Man final chapters, and it'll be on Peacock. So I better find somewhere where I can watch it here because I'm gonna be mad, or I'll find some kind of bandulu way to watch it. I don't care, but I need to see this. So the popularities of the movies The Best Man and the second installment, The Best Man Holiday, has secured the film status in our classic black movie archives. Like writer and director Malcolm D. Lee, he managed to gather up the powerhouse gang again, which is fantastic. So, and he got everybody back: Tay Diggs, Regina Hall, Nia Long, Harold Perrineau. Okay, see that's Frenchy in me, Perrineau, I guess. Sorry. Morris Chestnut with his fine ass, still fine after all these years. He's still fine. Sana Lathan and Melissa D'Souza. Now, since of course Monica Calhoun's character Mia passed away in the last movie, I'm not sure if we'll be seeing her this round. But you know how Hollywood magic works, so flashbacks, all of that good stuff. Who knows? We might see her. But there are also some new faces like Nicole Ari Parker, who you guys know from the Soul Food television show and just like that. And there are a host more. Trust me, I took out Nicole Ari Parker's name and Brandon Victor Dixon, who's a Tony Award winner, and we know him from Power and Jesus Christ Superstar. So they are all coming together to bring us another installment to wrap up everything in this trilogy. Now, the thing that I loved the most about The Best Man was the depiction of black folks and their friendships. Like, firstly, they were successful blacks, okay, except for Quentin, but in a way, because he hustled, he did his thing. He never worked. I don't even know how he had a roof over his head, but dude was he,
He was
he
light
played his
skinned and pretty,
guitar.
child. That was,
There,
light skin prettiness finds a way.
they find a way, and he sure did. So they supported each other unconditionally, even with the fights and the betrayals and everything. They were still there for each other. They supported each other, and the women also deflected the old tale of how black women can't get along. They were sisters. That's how we do. With your good friends, you support, you do the damn thing. So it was a movie that just hit home in a lot of aspects, and they kept it real. And I think the audience really appreciated that. That's what made it so popular. It was authentic, and it was a fantastic cast that, of course, you don't mind looking at, right? So that, of course, helped. So now we've gone from lies and betrayal in friendship from the first movie to heartbreak, mourning, and the inner workings of Black brotherhood and sisterhood in the second. And in this round, we're looking at Quentin, the black sheep of the clan, who's next in line to be betrothed. This man is going to get. First of all, do we think he's going to actually reach the altar? I mean, he was slick. He was a man whore. Don't listen. He was a man whore. He was, and he always spoke his truth with no chaser. And the thing is that he was always right. When you look back at it, he was always the one that had something to say, but he was always right. And we already know where this is going to be enough drama, and there's going to be too many things that are going to ensue before he makes it to the aisle. And the big question out of all of this is, who's his fiance? Is it actually the terrifying and manipulative Shelby? Like, I guess we're gonna have to just stay tuned to find out what's gonna happen. LMG, what's your take on The Best Man? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you waiting for this? I'm so excited about this, really and truly.
Clearly at a level that I have not yet reached. so,
I love this movie. It's just a
I
feel
mean,
good black movie, man.
I
Oh
did
boy.
enjoy. No,
Oh, okay,
no. I
okay.
did
I thought you were gonna be
enjoy.
like,
I enjoyed Malcolm Lee's two breakout films. I
uh-huh.
mean, he's done others since then, but when he dies, they're going to say the best man director, Malcolm Lee.
Of course, that's it. That's all he
Right,
needs, really.
right.
You
This
don't
will
need
be his
nothing else.
tombstone.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed the original. I mean, the original Best Man came out at a time where there were a lot of these friendship films with very good
Yeah.
looking, very successful, middle class, bougie black folks.
Mm-hmm.
So in that vein, in that era, it was just one of many. It was probably the best of those. I would argue. Um,
Mm-hmm.
those. Some people could maybe like Waiting to Exhale or Brown Sugar might have been one of theirs, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but they all kind of were a similar thing. I enjoyed the first one for me was not the revelation. The second one for me was the revelation. I thought the second film I expected not to enjoy. And not only did I enjoy, I cried a little bit when
I
Monica
cried
Calhoun's
like a
character
baby. Yep.
like that.
Yep.
And so,
Right.
I mean, one, it also showed that Malcolm Lee had grown as a filmmaker, and that was exciting. It's like, okay, he's not just going to rehash the same old kind of thing from the first film. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I think in that way, I'm intrigued to see what this show does. I
Mhm.
don't think there's any question Terrence Howard is going to get married at the end, because these are wish fulfillment films for Black women, right? Like they really are. Where even and even more so probably for this character, right? The whore. Oh, we can finally tame the
Yep.
whore with marriage, right? So he can be
Ugh.
redeemed through marriage. So these kind of very old school conservative tropes. So I think that is I think that's a foregone conclusion. The finale will
Mhm.
be this man marrying. I think the journey there is where it gets interesting. Do these friendships, do these interactions and dynamics work out in every week after week after week over what, 8 shows? How many, 8 hours? We
Mhm.
haven't necessarily spent that much time with these characters before. Do we, so that's going to be the real interesting tell. How do they keep us engaged and excited and interested in these characters over an 8-hour span? I'm assuming it's an 8-hour run on this show. Do you know if it's an 8 or 10 episode
I don't know
series?
how many episodes. No, all the things that I read, I haven't even seen anybody talk about how long it's going to be. But in terms of keeping us engaged, they do have, I think, with the new characters that they are going to be presenting, they'll be able to most probably throw a few monkey wrenches here and there. So I
Hmm.
think Nicole Ari Parker is going to be playing, the vixen. Um, I can't remember who she's going to be saucing it up with, but she is going to be, the troublemaker, quote unquote, and a few of the other characters too. They're all being placed, it looks like, strategically to kind of rock the boat a bit. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how things are going to unravel and how things are going to resolve if they do.
Yeah, I
So
think that
yeah,
this would be a great opportunity. One, to be able to see all of these actors who are now middle aged, and have been doing their craft for at least 20 to 30 years, if not longer, to really be
yeah,
able to go deeper with these characters that they've been playing for the last. God, when was the first film? Like 1999 or something. So it'd
yeah,
be interesting
yeah.
them get an opportunity to show their chops. Like Nia Long is a much better actress than she was when she first came out. Morris Chestnut essentially plays
Right,
the exact same
right.
person he's always played, but similar with Tay Diggs. But we'll get to see,
Yeah.
who these people are. Everything will come down to the writing. Um, I am interested to see what a mature performance of these particular characters will look like.
Uh-huh.
Am
Uh-huh.
I chomping at the bit about it? No.
I'm
But I look forward
excited.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
look,
yeah,
I was
me
not
too.
chopping at the bit at all about the Fresh Prince remake, and
Oh,
I love
Bel Air
Bel Air.
did it to me.
Bel Air
Yeah,
is
yeah,
Bel Air
yeah.
is incredible. So I am open to being wrong. And Peacock, you're at 1 on 1. So you've given me a one amazing Bel Air, and then you gave me one awful Firestarter reboot that was
Oh,
pure trash. So
yes.
maybe the best man will be the tiebreaker.
There we go. Well,
All
cheers
right.
to hoping. What
Cheers
do
to
you have
hoping.
on deck, sir?
So, while everyone else is talking about the problematic yet vulnerable new release by Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Steppers, I can't get over the reckless inclusion of Kodak Black, who pled guilty to first-degree assault and battery following his 2016 rape charge. And the
Uh-huh.
anti-accountability for power messages that Kendrick is pushing under the guise of redemption for bad actors. For those who don't know what I'm saying, he's essentially doing this anti-cancel culture thing.
Yeah.
I'm here for, pathways for redemption for some who are repentant for their actions. Not exactly words we've heard from Mr. Black or any others name checked by Lamar, including R. Kelly. However, redemption requires a
True.
process and a cost to be paid. It isn't cheap grace. It requires acknowledgement of the harm you've committed, atonement, sometimes even restitution and acts of service, and ultimately internal labor to avoid committing the same harm in the future. It's not a mercy. Kodak Black has done none of these things, or at least not as publicly as his harm, to justify his sudden candidacy for redemption, nor have almost anyone else that Kendrick defends in this on this album. So it just appears like another case of patriarchal protection in support of an unrepentant danger. And that's not something we typically look for from a Kendrick Lamar who's won the Pulitzer Prize for his last work,
Right.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also can't get with the dad naming, the misgendering, the constant faggot refrain, undercutting, and I'm gay, so I get to say it. Whatever positive introspective message Lamar was aiming for to address his still needs to be addressed. Homo and transphobia around his family and other people of
Mm-hmm.
queer nature via his Auntie Diaries song. More counseling and therapy is clearly needed there. This
Yeah.
song and its message is undercooked. And for that reason, I have not spent a lot of time with Kendrick Lamar's latest album, and he is a rapper that I normally enjoy and check out for. One of the handful of rappers since 2004. And anyway, that aside, since this is our loving it section, I digress. The album of the moment that we all should be talking about, should be engaging, that's beautiful and uplifting and light filled, is Grammy Award winner PJ Morton's Watch the Sun. The album was released on April 29th. It's his 13th album project. As part of the 11 tracks, he's giving us the return of the GOAT himself, Stevie Wonder, on Be Like Water, which also features another GOAT, Nas. Jill Scott duetting with newbie or relative newbie. It's kind of old for those of us in the indie
Really?
side. Alex
Oh, okay,
Isley.
okay, okay. Okay. I step back. I
Yeah,
step back. All
I
right.
had to finish the
Yeah.
sentence for you, right? Jill is
Yes.
duetting with Alex Isley on the Sinewy Still Believe, which also PJ is trying to make a Still Believe, what do we call it? What do they do on these TikTok things? Challenge.
Oh, challenge.
Yeah, I had a senior moment. PJ's trying to make a Still Believe TikTok challenge happen for a run that happens between Alex and Jill.
Oh, okay.
He gives us more old school homage with a duet featuring El DeBarge on My Way, which just sings itself, child. If you weren't already clear from El DeBarge's recent Tiny Desk on NPR, he still got
Uh-huh.
it. he still
Listen.
he still
Yes.
got it. Still got the voice, you know. That gift is defended itself against many a danger. His
Right.
duet, Morton's other favorite duet partner, or favorite duet partner, is JoJo. And she returns with Mr. Talking Box for a single previously released called My Peace. My personal favorite is a spiritual pick me up that reminds me of Morton's PK Roots, The
Mm-hmm.
Better Benediction, featuring Zacardi Cortez, Gene Moore, Tim Rogers, Smoked, and Daryl Music City Walls. My other fave is Little Too Heavy, which is just PJ Morton by himself, nobody else, at his honest best. He's supporting this gem of a project with a national Watch the Sun tour with Gumbo Live, Paul, the album, and now Watch the Sun. Morton is on a hot streak, and we might be thinking of this later as getting defined as PJ Morton's classic period, in much the way Earth, Wind, and Fire and Stevie Wonder had theirs. Watch the Sun
Mm.
by PJ Morton. Check it out. Have you had a chance to give it any listens?
I have not. However, because it was high up on my list to listen to this week, But what I did do is I already purchased my ticket to go to that show.
Oh.
So I definitely, yeah. Oh, I was playing. I saw it was coming through, and it's literally the place is literally across the street from where I live. So I can't even say, no, I won't go. It's too far. No, no, no. I will put on my shoes, put on my flip flops, and go and enjoy it. And it's under the stars outside. It's gonna be beautiful. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I haven't seen PJ live since. Oh, might be a good 10 years or
Oh,
so.
he's so much better. He's so much better
I'm
than he was.
sure it was
No,
like when
I
he first came out. Like that was the last time, yeah, that
yeah.
I saw him.
So I've been covering PJ Morton. Whew, let me see. When I was in maybe about 20 years now, that I've been covering him. I remember recovering the first album for Urban Dialect, regional magazine that was published and edited by Daniel Gray Contar. Um, and I've interviewed him, and initially PJ was incredibly shy in person, like,
Yes, yes, yes. I will attest to
incredibly
that.
shy.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
and very humble and modest, and so and I when I first saw him in concert, I was like, the band is incredible, the songs are incredible. He's swallowed by it all. Like
Yeah.
he was not present for me as a figure I should be focusing my attention on and throughout a show. And but the band was so
Mhm.
good, and the songs PJ's never written. Like I mean, like for me, I don't. I think maybe there might be one album by PJ I don't really care for. For the most
Right.
part, out of that 13 album run, I probably like 12. Love 10, like love 10.
Right. Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so, but I saw him. I've seen the Gumbo and Paul tours, and I saw him with Lettucey and Kurt Franklin. This was
Ooh.
Yeah, they did a tour together. PJ opened, and
Okay.
it was the first time I saw PJ in a long time. Because for a while I wouldn't go because it was just kind of like I love his music, I don't love his live show. But since he was part of this
Right.
bigger bill, I was like, I'll go see. He was completely present, full voice singing. He had incredible runs. He'd increased his melismic approach to song.
Okay.
He had found his own voice, a little bit more distinct from Stevie Wonder because he gets a lot of comparisons to Stevie,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
and just powerful. He owned the stage. He owned the room. And I wrote Let Us See that night, like mini review about how much the whole show, the whole show was incredible. Let Us See broke out crying about her daddy. Kirk Franklin came and stopped the show and comforted her on stage. I was moved by all of that. I mean, it was just, and I hadn't even Kirk Franklin, who I had also not ever thought I was going to go see, gave me one of the best shows of my life. He's like an entertainer
Really?
deluxe.
Wow.
Yeah,
Actually,
and
no,
he's
I wouldn't be
always moving
surprised.
all over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one,
Uh-huh.
every song. Like, that's the first part. You think even if you don't think Kirk Franklin's catalog, trust me, you know every
You
song.
know
All
Kirk
of those songs,
Franklin. Yeah.
Kirk Franklin's catalog. So every song was a smash. Every song was a hit.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
he is like James Brown on that stage. He is all over the place. High ball of
Wow.
energy. He's directing. He's giving conductor work. He's singing, hollering, and carrying on, and it is a ball of delight. Like I could not get enough. That was literally, I went in like Kirk Franklin. He don't even sing, baby. I walked out of that show giving. He could get my money anytime. Let us say I'd already seen a million times. She could always get my money. She's an associate of mine.
Yeah,
But
she's yeah. Ooh.
but that evening, PJ Morton revealed himself to me as a consummate live touring performer, and I've seen him
Okay.
since two more times, and he's every time he brought it, like killed it,
Okay.
murdered everything moving. So I'm
Well, this will be my
excited for
third
you.
time, so I'm
Yeah,
looking
I'm
forward to
excited
it.
for you to see Watch the Sun. That's going to be hot. So we
Yeah,
look
yeah.
forward
So
to
I'm
your
definitely gonna
hidden
catch it.
footage. The hidden footage from YouTube, your YouTube
Sounds
channel.
good. Okay.
Yeah. Look, I'm in Mexico. I can't go see him. So, yeah. I
I
might
know.
come to the States for one concert this year, and that might be if I can get tickets to see Silk Sonic.
I know. God, I would love to see them too. I couldn't
They're in
remember their
Vegas. They're doing the
dates.
Vegas
Yeah,
residency this summer,
I
and
know. I know.
I
I
know those
know
tickets are going to be ridiculous, but it's
for
kind of the
sure. But I think it
only.
would be worth it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's kind of the only concert tour that I'm pressed to see.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
When I saw,
so
yeah, I won't
no,
even
no,
continue with that because then we're going to be talking about music all night. So nope, nope, nobody, nope. Let's let's not, let's not. We should do at some point do a music show though. I think people would kind of enjoy that too. Touch a little bit on what we know and shit
I mean,
stuff.
we only were doing it as professions for decades, so.
I know, you
And then we decided,
why
we're
not?
experts in all of the arts. We're going to talk about all of the things now,
Everything. That's right.
everything. Any case, so moving on to it's complicated.
Yes,
I feel like
sir.
we kind of have some it's complicated in the things we've already talked about tonight, but it's complicated formally, the formal segment. These are stories we have mixed feelings about. We love certain aspects of it, and we recognize how it can be perceived as problematic. An incomplete solution to the problem it's addressing, or just has elements that keep us from loving it. What you got for me, AMC?
Well, I have decided to jump on Bette Midler's back because of her response to the baby formula shortage that she gave on Twitter the other night. She was speaking to, or I should say, she retweeted a tweet by Stephanie Rule, who is the MSNBC anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, and and senior business analyst. So she had tweeted that regarding baby formula. Of course, the baby formula shortage reveals an amazing secret oligopoly. Three American companies control over 90% of the market, hugely restrictive regulation, thanks to big money lobbying, prohibit foreign formulas. Name another industry sector product like this. So Miss Bette Midler decided to retweet that and say, try breastfeeding. It's free and available on demand. So,
Ooh.
I mean, yeah, her insensitive tweet.
Auntie, no,
Yeah,
Auntie.
Auntie did me wrong on that one because I really,
No,
really,
I'm
really,
sure.
really love her. I do really, really dig her. And that I was just like, let me punch somebody in the throat
She's done
because
this a couple of times now where she said some things that are not what we want from the auntie that was at the gay baths. No.
thank you. Exactly. Like the auntie at the gay baths, the feminist that we know that she is. You know what I mean? Like all of these little things. I'm like, you tripping? Like what are you doing? What are you doing? It's the
Getting
whole
old.
diarrhea of the mouth, getting old syndrome. Like this, I'm not. I'm
Hmm.
no. I'm not feeling that. So I mean, that was really insensitive. Her tweet was insensitive. It was disgusting. And it was just another example for me of people shoving their beliefs so far down your throat when you never asked for a taste in the first place, right? So let's be real about breastfeeding being, free and available. It's not feasible for everyone. It is not for everyone, period. So, what about mothers who are not able to produce milk? What about mothers who have had breast reductions and cannot breastfeed? What about mothers who can't get their child to latch on while experiencing excruciating pain? Breastfeeding is not easy. It can be very stressful while you're trying to heal, while you're dealing with maybe postpartum depression, and all while you're trying to become, like, start mothering this new person. Also, what about the mother who simply decides not to breastfeed in the first place? You're allowed to do that. That's the whole idea of being an individual and thinking for yourself. So you can promote whatever you want about breastfeeding. It doesn't mean that it's not good for you, or what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander kind of thing. Like you really have to be mindful. And like for me personally, when I had my son, um, My allergies are kicking my ass, y'all. So sorry. I'm starting to sound all blocked up, nasally. It's horrible.
Listen, my breath control has not been good today. My asthma's been a little tight, so I hear you.
Oh my god, it's so bad. So yeah, and for my case, like I had explained earlier, that I was in a precarious situation with my son when I had him. Um, I was out of it for about a week. I was on a whole bunch of machines. It was a whole thing. I also had a breast reduction when I was 30. Apparently, when I had my breast reduction, well, so the surgeon said that he was attaching everything back so that I would be able to breastfeed if I had a child. That didn't come to be. I tried to when I woke up from everything, I tried to work with a lactation consultant, and we tried to get me pumping and the whole nine, and I could not produce any milk. So I
Mm,
had to feed my child formula. And again, like, I didn't feel horrible that I had to feed my child formula. That's just a decision. What am I going to do? Not feed my kid? So, things like that, I'm like, the thought process behind it, I just don't get it. And for so long, we've been talking about um, people policing other people's bodies. We've been talking about Roe versus Wade for the past, like, almost month. We've been talking about women's rights for the past, I mean, for longer in general. And here we have someone who's all pro all of that, and who used to be a feminist in every sense of the word, as I just said, yet she's sitting here on her high horse policing women's bodies. So that it makes absolutely no sense to me. None at all. It was just wrong. It was really, really wrong. The perspective that was taken was 100% out of just reach. It didn't work for me. Do you have anything to add to that, LMG?
I mean, I feel like you were quite eloquent on that one, and that I don't probably have a whole lot extra to say, other than, obviously, there are clear benefits to breastfeeding, and nobody's like anti breastfeeding, right? But to your point,
Hmm.
there's lots of reasons, that different people are not able to. I mean, there's also kind of like the expense of trying to pump and have different, but like if you're a working mother and you're trying to like have milk available for when you're at work, and
Uh
while the
huh.
child is with a care, like there's lots and lots of logistics and financials that go into that as well. Like
100%.
where,
Yeah.
yeah, there's just lots of things, factors, and as at the end of the day, it's nobody's business but that mother and their child and maybe their doctor, right? Right. Like
Right.
I
Right.
don't understand, why are we, and she wasn't alone in sharing that. I didn't see the Bette Midler post or the Origin post that she retweeted. But I did see other people make similar commentary, and I was like, I'm not a woman and I'm not a parent, and even I know not everyone can produce milk. Not everyone has,
Hmm.
to your point around latching. Latching is a major issue for a lot of women.
Yeah.
My own mother breastfed initially and then realized that she couldn't handle it. It was apparently I was a very greedy baby. It's causing all kinds of sore breasts and things, and
That
so
hurts, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
apparently abusive to my mother as a baby, as an infant, and she ended up transitioning me to formula, which is why I'm the size of the rock. So, so
Stop.
so yeah, I think that's it's a personal decision. I mean, and
It really is. Yeah.
and Auntie Bet girl says, no, we didn't need to
Fall
hear from you
back.
on this. Yeah, fall
Just fall
back.
back. Fall back.
And find
Just
out,
let it
like,
go.
what's going on, because this isn't the first time you've been in trouble for saying some stuff lately. This is like your second or third time in the rodeo in the last 5 years. We don't need you to rethink
Mm.
some of your life choices. So,
Mm.
as for me, mine is, I know we have to warn people about the possibility of an epidemic, but in our current very polarized climate, I can't help but feel a
Mm.
way about the recent reporting of monkeypox, the outbreaks that have
Ugh.
been happening in both the US and Europe. It's concerning given our conservative backlash context that we're all operating and living in. And this conservative backlash context is not something unique to the United States. It also exists in the UK and globally. For those who don't know what monkeypox is, according to the Washington Post, monkeypox is named for the animals for which it was discovered. The disease cropped up in 1958 among monkeys kept for research. According to the CDC, more than a decade before a human case was identified in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Mass vaccinations against smallpox presumably curbed monkeypox as well, at least for a time among humans. But cases have since resurged, thanks in part to a lack of immunity in later generations, they say. Can't imagine where we have a lack of immunity from.
Uh, uh,
Anti-vax. Anyway,
uh,
as a result, more than 450 cases have been reported in Nigeria since 2017, according to the CDC. Monkeypox infection typically lasts about 2 to 4 weeks. It begins with flu-like symptoms and swelling of the lymph nodes. Eventually, fluid-filled bumps, very unattractive fluid-filled bumps or pox, spread across the face and skin. The disease can spread through contact with animals, infected people, and materials used by infected peoples. Keep that in mind. It can be spread through contact with animals, infected people, and materials used by infected peoples, according to health authorities. Examples listed by the CDC include contact with bodily fluids, contact with monkeypox sores, and infection through respiratory droplets in a close setting. You know, the kind that we're now going to be exposed to because we decided to stop wearing masks. Yeah, that part. Such as a shared household. Monkeypox can be deadly, but two major strains of the virus pose different risk. About 1 in 10 people infected with the Congo Basin strain have been found to die, according to the World Health Organization, while a West African strain appeared to be fatal for about 1 in 100 people that were infected. That milder strain is the one infecting people right now. Keep that in mind, folks. The milder strain is what's infecting people right now who were hospitalized in the UK. But it's not clear what strain the new patient just identified in Massachusetts contracted. So we're talking about something that could be spread between humans and animals, between humans and humans. Yes, it was originally found in Central and West Africa and has primarily remained there. But these new cases, about a dozen confirmed this month, and dozens more being investigated, have no travel links to a place where monkeypox is regularly found. So these are not coming from the Africa. And it's suggesting that the virus may be spreading through the community. The case in Massachusetts is the first infection identified in the U.S. this year. Now, keep in mind, monkeypox is not known to spread easily between humans, which is why, we shouldn't be, we aren't at the sounding the alarm stage like we were at COVID. In fact, signs of why there are signs of sustained transmission between people, that is unique to this particular strain. That has not been the case historically, where especially given the fact that you can see monkeypox for most folks, right? So
I saw a picture and it is not pretty.
The picture is not attractive. And we have had about 70 cases reported in the U.S. since it was first recorded here in 2003. This go round, it appears that the first known patient in the U.S. recently traveled to Nigeria. So that's different from the ones that are in the U.K. But the 20 suspected cases in the UK, 5 of which have been confirmed, were people who had never traveled to Nigeria or Africa. Here's the part. According to Washington Post, recent cases were, quote unquote, predominantly in gay, bisexual, or men who have sex with men. End quote. The UK Health Security Agency said. The agency is advising people in those groups to be especially, quote unquote, alert to any unusual rashes or lesions on any part of their body. Here's the deal. Everything is still too early to know much of anything, right? They're still investigating cases. They still are trying to figure out contact tracing and origins. Much of the information to date is speculative and wait and see in nature. I just hope that we have learned our lesson with HIV/AIDS, which, for those who don't know, was formerly called GRID, for gay
Mhm.
related immune deficiency. It took us a generation to undo this early stigmatization that said HIV was only a gay disease. Those early faux pas cost lives and helped ensure resources were stymied for almost a decade because no one cared about the three H's who were getting it: hemophiliacs, Haitians, and homosexuals. The first three groups thought to be the most at risk. Here's the deal: Black Americans were getting it from day one, but because we were calling it GRID, no one was checking for it.
Right.
So let's, because we also forget that Black people can also be gay people, but that's a whole nother
Mhm.
conversation. let's let's
Ooh.
educate the public, but also be clear that there is nothing innately African. And when I mean African, I mean as in black bodied, or queer, as in gay men, about this outbreak, right? Anyone can get monkeypox. You all
Right.
remember I told y'all to remember those three ways you get it, right?
Uh-huh.
Meaning didn't have anything to do with butt sex, didn't have anything with getting head, didn't like those can be transmission routes, but you also can just touch the garment of the person who has it and get it, right? So
Right.
these are not sexual or racial things. But when we have an origin story of Africa, which is what the origin story for HIV is, and we have early cases in this new epidemic or outbreak that are potentially maybe mostly queer, we now get back into this kind of stigmatization issue. So I'm asking that we all take a beat before we find ourselves demonizing and stigmatizing vulnerable people again in the name of public health, which ultimately ended up harming everyone's health. So that's my it's complicated for today. Want to make sure people are safe.
Amen.
Want to make sure the gay folks know that they should probably be checking for stuff. But
Hmm.
let's not make this a black and gay thing again, folk. Gotta
Yeah,
learn
that's
some lessons.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's not the
So,
way
any
to
thoughts about
go.
monkeypox other than the fact that it looks absolutely disgusting?
I can't. There's no way that you can see someone with monkeypox and be like, "Oh, what's that?" and want to touch it. There's no way
Mhm.
that you would want to, like, if somebody is visually ill, you would definitely want to be out of the vicinity. You wouldn't want to be near them. You wouldn't want I don't want any droplets on my upper lip. I don't want none of it. Like, there's no need to be in that area. And again, as you stated, there's no need to be labeling this disease. It's a disease that everyone can catch. Period. That's it.
Mhm.
So just be mindful. You gotta be mindful, like anything and everything else. You gotta be mindful about your surroundings and what you do and all of that good stuff. There's I don't even know what else to say on that. I think it's just really ignorant when we start talking about labels, and usually these labels always start within Africa, as these origin stories usually start, where they
Mhm.
usually start. Sorry, and as you stated, with the queer community, LGBTQ community, it's always something. I find that they always latch on to you know black community, the queer community. It always starts there. It always starts there. We're always the center of
Or
everything.
as with COVID, Asians, which is why we have Asian hate at an all time high and
Right.
violence against Asians at an all time high. Like
Because
stigmatizing
white people
bodies of
never get
people.
anything, right? Right.
Yeah,
It
I
never
mean,
starts with an, I don't know.
right.
It just, I always feel like we're just always targeted. Targeted would be the word. Targeted. And it comes with BIPOC people. That's it. Done. It always seems
Yeah.
like it comes from that.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, and I think that this also encourages people to keep their mask on. I mean, I know mask mandates are no longer kind of ruling the policies of. I mean, even in Mexico, here we just last week
Hmm.
allow people to stop wearing masks in outdoors because here was
Yeah.
like a 5,000 peso fine where I live. if you were caught outdoors without a mask. But now you only have to wear a mask indoors, and I was at a club and people did not wear the mask indoors either. They started taking
Yeah.
them off. So,
Mhm.
but here's the
Mhm.
deal. Like, yes, you might be able to see someone who has a full monkeypox outbreak, but if somebody is still in the early stages and they just have droplets that are in the air, you can
True.
catch it that way, or, which is
That's
again
true.
encouraging you to wear your mask. Or if somebody, maybe has a lesion too, because, yes, they look disgusting, but they also kind of look like boils, and so they might have
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
mistaken for a boil, right? Like you might mistake a boil and not think it's monkeypox, and even see that on
Mhm.
a partner and not necessarily immediately make a connection. Because, part of the thing is why we don't know a lot about monkeypox is because it was an African thing, and we don't really kind of care about what
Oh, yeah.
happens when things
Uh-huh.
are primarily impacting Africans. So that might be have contributed to why we have so little knowledge. But this new strain is a little concerning, and people should
Yeah.
take care of themselves. It's obviously the numbers are super low, but as we know from other pandemics and epidemics, numbers have been low in the past for things that have magically grown. So everybody just
Yeah.
be safe out there.
That's
All
it.
right, folks. So this is our Just Know. These are stories that we hated and have harsh critiques for. This is where we get to go in. AMC, take it away.
Well, so I am going to give you all a little dose of Canada's peak racist shit that came to our attention last week. Stephen Lecce, who happens to be an Ontario cabinet minister, lost his damn mind and when he was in college, and now he seems to be getting a little slap on the wrist, but we'll see how that plays out. I'll get into it a little bit more. But he happens to be the Minister of Education, and I need you guys to remember this because this is where the irony comes in. So he is now embroiled in a whirlwind of backlash after his past caught up with him recently. In 2006, and I'm talking about just yesterday, 2006, Lecce participated in a fraternity event that was dubbed a slave auction while he attended Western
Mm,
University. He also became the leader of the fraternity in 2008, which is 2 years later, where it was reported that another slave auction took place. But of course, he has no recollection of it. And to make matters worse, there's an image of the statement that was penned by Lecce himself that was found in archives. And next to the, and I quote, chapter news is what it was called, there's the listing of the slave auction, and it's right there, bold and bright for everyone to see. And Lecce was listed as a slave in the auction. A few hours after it was reported, he released a weak 2 line apology stating, "The event from 2006 was inappropriate and in no way reflects who I am as a person, which is why I unreservedly apologize. I will continue to passionately advance the interests of all Ontarians, irrespective of faith, heritage, orientation, or race." Now, this man is a high profile minister, and he's been at the forefront of the pandemic because of his post and his banal repeated bullshit about mandates that made no sense and the online learning that's left students and parents scarred for life. He was the face of all of that. He was the one that was pushing all of that. So everyone in the other political parties now have been calling for his resignation or for him to withdraw from the upcoming provincial election that's coming up next month that I spoke about previously. We will see if he'll be voted back into his riding, but obviously he doesn't represent our values at all, and that's what's being touted by the other politicians in the parties. So he's been the education minister for the past 3 years in Doug Ford's cabinet. I'm sure Ford alone, that name rings a bell to y'all. I don't have to go any further. Of course, during the week, Ford stepped up after all of the backlash to say that he supports Lecce 100% and believes that
mm,
and believes that he's truly sorry for what he did.
mm,
So we're gonna see. I mean, the only time we're going to see any kind of resolution or resolve is if he's not voted back into his riding, and we won't know until next month. So the caucasity kills me. I mean, it's there, like shining bright for you to see. And right now, he's still in office. Still in office. Slap on the wrist. But I guess, a lot of the politicians are saying as well that the polls will kind of settle it, and they're hoping that they're not going to vote him back into his writing. And I can tell you from the pandemic alone, people were cursing this man's name left, right, and center, left, right, and center, because a lot of the decisions that he made literally drove parents to a breaking point when it came to kids and learning, and the kids trying to imagine graduating, and you can't even graduate with your peers. There's no graduation, you don't know what you're doing, online work is crazy, the teachers are tired. I mean, everybody went through this pandemic, and it was like difficult, it was challenging. But some of the decisions that were coming from our government were just backwards, and a lot of people were just at wits end. So the irony that our education minister is the one that behind all of this shit is just mind blowing. It's mind blowing. But yeah, that's old Canada for you. There you go.
Every
There you
time
go.
you say that is the education minister, I just, it's giving Betsy DeVos during the Trump administration for me.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. It's like a male
Um,
version. It's just makes no sense. It's ridiculous. Oh my god.
yeah.
Exhausting. These people are exhausting. Oh my god. And I have to vote next month, as you can see.
For good reason, with good reason.
Definitely.
Yeah, AMC, you keep making me sad because I was gonna come to
Mhm.
Canada during George W.
Mhm.
Bush's when George W. Bush was given the election by the Supreme Court. Way back when in the early aughts, I was like, I'm going to Canada. I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to Canada. And now you have consistently let me know that I would have been very frustrated and angry about
Yes.
the promised land that was promised to me about if getting out of America and going to Canada to escape the people and their foolishness. Um,
Yep. Yep. This is, what? This is how I usually put the whole perspective in terms of racism here in Canada versus racism in the States. In the States, a racist person would literally look you in the face and be like, "Hey, nigger, I don't like you." Right? Here in Canada, it's, "Oh my god, you're amazing. Yeah, that's so great." And as soon as you turn your back, it's, "We're gonna stab that nigga in the back." That's how it is here.
oh, that's like California.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it?
Well, I lived in California for a year, and I say it's the most passive aggressive place I've ever lived. Like everything is,
Really?
I mean, and even worse because there, everyone knows the liberal code words to use. Like they all
Uh-huh.
have like anti-racist language to use, but still behave in racist and white supremacist forms. So
Yeah.
yes,
That's Canada.
um,
There you go.
hmm
It's
yeah,
Canada.
what they say, white people gonna white anyway.
All the time. All the time. Regardless of borders,
Uh,
y'all.
regardless of borders, and
Right.
that's, I mean, unfortunately, that's also even true down here. We just don't happen to be the people that they're targeting here in Mexico. It's more the indigenous folks who catch hell.
Uh
Um, so I don't have eloquent words to describe the 198 mass shootings that we've already experienced so far in America, with the 13 shot and 11 dead, in Buffalo being but one. Fewer
hmm
still for the 693 mass shootings we saw in 2021, according to the Gun Violence Archive, or the 611 the year before that, jumping up almost 200 from the 417 we had in 2019, pre pandemic. What I will say is that white supremacy, white nationalism, and supporters, whether tacit, active, or apathetic, are largely responsible for those numbers. According to the New York Times, the vast number of murders from 2012 through 2021 that were politically motivated were connected to right-wing political extremism. 55% of those were under the white supremacist banner, 14% under anti-government, and 6% by other right-wing causes. So collectively, that's 75% of all of murders in this vein were right-wing, primarily white racist, conservative domestic terrorists. Domestic terrorism isn't an Islamic problem or a black problem or a Mexican immigrant problem. It is a white problem for America, and we need to start saying so out loud, often, and accordingly. This is what we should be focused on instead of critical race theory.
Huh.
This is the real danger: white supremacist domestic terrorism. But that's not going to be my. I hate it. I feel like other people have written a lot more eloquently and a lot more detailed about those we've lost who were just going to a grocery store, often to provide for their families, and lost their lives just for no other reason other than they were a black person in a grocery store.
The only black grocery store in their area.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like I said, people are gonna do what they do, wash and repeat, and then we'll have this happen again a few months from now. I think one of the brothers are broken down because he said he'd already covered 15 of these for CNN, and he just was
Yes. Yes.
he was just tired because he knows that he's going to have more to cover because America will not face its original sin and its original sickness. In any case, I'm going to switch to something that's a little bit more fun, just in the interest of our mental health. Girl, Keep Your Legs Closed tour.
Sorry.
Presented by Purity Precious.
Are you for real though? Like
hosted by Precious Joy, the Purity is Precious founder and host. This tour costs between $150 to $247 a ticket.
What?
The tour speakers include a fatherless daughters expert in Janelle Gordon, a trauma relief wellness coach in Helen Johnson, a Christian psychologist in Dr. Aldrin Tart, pun not intended, a podcaster whose last name is Liberal, the irony, and a Pure Friendship nonprofit founder. I'm not sure what a Pure Friendship.
What is a thank you? Okay, because I was about to ask, what's a Pure Friendship?
The name of it is the name of her organization. She's also the one whose last name is Liberal. Is Pure Friendships. So, and inexplicably, a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. I'm not sure what he has to do with girls keeping their legs closed, but Mac Woods, Mr. Mac Woods, Courtney Mac Woods McLean, he is there too. This tour is making its way to Houston, Atlanta, Oklahoma City, Detroit, and Chicago, hotbeds of Black conservative Christendom. This abstinence ministry is, of course, focused exclusively on teen girls ages 12 to 17, with no such focus on the boys, of course. The jokes just write themselves. Yeah, girl,
this is real?
Keep your legs closed! Exclamation point tour. Real. Yeah, it's real. It's real. Precious Joy is a real person. I mean, I don't know that her mother gave her 2 first names, but
I can't.
What
is this?
And I don't know that Dr. Tart, Dr. Tart, just by his name alone, should probably be excluded from telling anybody to close their legs. But so
Dr. Tart.
And then there's Choke Brady. I mean, it's again, all kind of sex jokes. Sex jokes is writing themselves. People writing themselves.
Oh
Mac
yeah,
Woods McLean. Mm-hmm. Mac Woods got
sounded
that
like a
wood.
porn.
No, listen.
No, no, no. It's sounded too porny for me. I can't. No, no. And you know what
uh,
scares me the most is that tickets are gonna sell to this shit. This is what
oh
scares me the
yeah.
most.
Oh yeah, this is a money grab. You better get that early bird, $150 that ends May 28th. General admission is 197, and that ends on June 28th. Late registrants, which most of the black folks are probably going to pay for this,
Who's gonna
two hundred
roll
and
in on the same day?
forty-seven dollars.
Yeah. Oh no.
Two
Oh
hundred and
no.
forty-seven
No.
dollars. Yeah, to hear the fatherless. I'm trying to figure out how does one become a fatherless daughter's expert. Is that a webinar? Is there a training class? Is there like
Oh.
what's the what is what is the
What?
requirement to
Yeah. Yeah.
become? Is it a
Is there a
certification?
certificate? Get out of my
Is it,
mouth. I
are
don't know what to
are
say.
continuing education classes required for relicensure? Are we only talking about
Oh,
cisgender daughters? Are we also talking about trans daughters? Are trans
and
girls
this is
also supposed to keep their legs
pure
closed?
friendship.
Or are we not
What
acknowledging
is
trans
this?
girls in this? Because Texas will now take your child from you if you have a trans daughter, 12 to
Okay.
17. So like this. I mean, a trauma. I don't necessarily know that I trust the trauma relief wellness coach either. Like,
Or
what?
the
How are you
DEI
relieving?
officer who's
I
going to
don't
be
know why
wandering around aimlessly.
I don't know whose cousin the DEI officer that is the only one who had a nickname is part of his name. The Mac Woods person. Like, I don't know why why Courtney McWoods McLean is present, other than he might be a cousin or uncle to somebody who was putting them. Maybe he's Precious's boyfriend, or fiance, because Precious Joy is doing purity, so she probably ain't got no boyfriends. She don't believe in boyfriends. She just believes in husbands. Um,
Oh, oh,
yeah, I
oh,
don't
oh.
know. Like,
This can't.
I'm
This
still
can't be
on. I'm looking at
live.
these.
It can't.
No, it's a real thing.
Oh,
People come look it up.
I'm so sorry. I'm like, I can't. I can't.
Look, the purity move. This is no different from those purity ring stuff that was popular about 20 years ago. Then there were those second virginity classes, with the father daughter dances around purity, and this stuff. But usually it's white folks. Everybody
Yeah,
here is white.
because I was about to say I must be some kind of heathen because I don't know about none of that shit.
Oh
What?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I have no
All of
idea.
these are shiny faced black people.
Oh,
Pushing their. I mean, look, everything on the right is trying to be a time machine to 1955. So I guess we shouldn't be shocked that the black right, the black conservative Christian right, is also trying to
true.
go back to 1955, at least when it comes to gender equity. But my thing is, these girls aren't having sex by themselves. First of all, we should probably
Okay.
note that teen pregnancy has been on a decline for 30 years.
Uh-huh.
So let's start with that. We also start with Gen Z, starting with millennials and transitioning to Gen Z, have sex a full year later than Gen Xers did. So they've already been keeping their legs closed. They're not having a bunch of babies out of wedlock. Of course, if they needed an abortion soon, they won't be able to get one, but that's a different
Right.
conversation.
Uh-huh.
You also are trying to like make sure they don't have contraception. You're not teaching them about other forms of birth control because you don't believe in them. So there's
Right.
all of that too. But yeah, the girl keeps your legs closed to her. Like, where's the
Uh,
boy keep your legs closed to her? Where's the boy use a condom to her? Like, where's
yeah, yeah.
it's all a hot mess. And what
And
kind of girls? What kind of boys?
Christendom. This
Yeah,
is
well,
like the one that kills me.
but none of that is
Christendom.
actually. So here's the funny thing about all of that: it's Christendom without saying it. Nowhere on here is anything about Jesus. Nowhere on
Right.
this ad is there anything about This is all purity, purity,
Uh-huh.
a lot of purity language. But
But
just
they're
the
the
fact
ones
that
that
it's
always.
gendered.
Sorry. Uh-huh.
No, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just about to say that they're always the ones that want to throw Christ in their business, right? So that is the way that they're going to do it without literally saying God said to keep your legs closed, right? That's their way of going around it.
Why are there three men on this panel? Why are there three men on this panel talking to 12-year-old girls about keeping their legs closed?
Thank you,
Like,
Mr.
I'm
Tart.
yeah, right. Dr. Tart.
Oh,
Doctor.
excuse me. Sorry,
He's the
Doctor.
Christian
Doctor.
psychologist. He's the Christian psychologist, Dr. Tart.
Right.
Sitting next to Choke Bradley, or Choke Brady, who's a right Choke. And the man's name is Choke. Maybe it's Chioke. It's Chioke, but I'm gonna just say it's Choke. He's a pastor of. So he is actually. So this one is a pastor of Somebody's Ministries. I can't read. I think
What?
it's Siri
Sorry.
Ministries. Yeah. So this one is a SHR Ministries or something like that. So Choke is a pastor. So
Oh,
that's why
okay.
Choke is there. Still don't
Okay.
know why. Still don't know why Wood is there. Not sure why Mac Woods is there. he's he's going to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion at the end of the 12-year-old conversation about having sex with the boys next door.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's all wrong. It's all
Yes.
a mess. These three grown ass men talking to these 12-year-old girls about their sex lives and their bodies feels ick. Precious Joy smiling while she robs these poor people of their money. Because here's the other thing. So these girls are going to go to this, and if and when they're ready to have sex, they're still going to do it.
Yeah. May not be this year, but it might be next year. So
it,
y'all need to like.
so those $250 might could go better for either the PJ Morton tour that we talked about earlier, maybe a Jasmine Sullivan tour, a Yeba tour, or you can make a deposit on the evening with Silk Sonic, because them tickets are gonna be 4 figures. So you can make a
Okay.
deposit. You can make a deposit on the evening with Silk Sonic
Oh god.
tour tickets. Like, that's what you can better do with this money. Because what this whole conference is not gonna do is stop any of these young ladies from when they're ready to have sex from having sex.
Right
Because
on.
that's what being a teenager is be a hotbed of hormones and emotions. And the more you tell a teenager something is tempting and out of reach and should not be done,
Ha
the
ha
more.
ha
Here's the funny thing
ha.
about the 1950s: the number one birth rate year in America is like 1957 or 1958.
Really? Huh.
Right. It was like right
Doggone.
for teenagers, for teen birth rates. Back when
Wow.
we didn't, back when we were telling the girls to keep the legs closed. That was when we had
Right.
most teen pregnancies in America. Yeah, that was the
Okay.
result.
Wow.
It was the result of keep your legs closed tour circa America in the 50s. My grandmother
Good
was part of that. That was when
God.
my mother was born. My grandmother was like, and that was my grandmother's second child. She was already, 1920, having the second baby by then. So yeah, and they were Christian too. That message didn't work for my grandmother. It probably didn't work for
Okay.
y'all grandmama either. Think of some of the ages of some of y'all folks' grandmama. So I don't know why we're doubling down on things that don't work, but you know, it's America. What can I say?
Those who don't hear must feel. That's what my Caribbean parents used to tell me every day, all day. And boy, that is so true.
Yeah, well, it's probably going to make its way, once it's successful, because, there are plenty of good church folk in Houston and Detroit and Chicago and Atlanta that's
Oh,
going to
yes,
make this a success. They're
they
going to
sure
probably
will.
bring the Keep Your Legs Closed About tour in, in Canada.
Listen, no, no, and no. No.
Uh, anyway, good folks, that is our show. Do you have anything else for us, AMC?
I don't. I need to like wash this off my brain. I'm good. That's it.
Listen, you just need to spend some time with the fatherless daughter expert and the trauma relief wellness coach, and then afterwards spend some time with the DEI officer, so you get your life right with Christ through the DEI officer.
All I'm seeing is like a porn cover. That's all I'm seeing in my head. I need to
I
get my head out of the gutter.
I really want to understand. I'm trying to make the connection. Why is the DEI officer part of this panel at all? I mean, this whole thing should not exist, but this DEI officer piece is really like killing me. I think it may be because he's iconic. Because he's attractive. He's a very attractive man. But yeah, that's a
So
hot
he's
mess.
the eye
Anyway,
candy?
yeah. The brothers, choking them.
Oh,
Reverend choking them, Reverend choking Dr. Tart.
oh man, I can't. I got tears in my eyes. That's it. I'm done. Oh my god.
Look, let me tell you, Reverend Choke, Dr. Tart, and Wood McLean are all attractive brothers. So maybe that's why they're there. They're supposed to give somebody, some old creepy men, because that's who they are to these 12 to 17-year-old girls, because these brothers all look very much my age. Are supposed to be there for. So they have some old men to look at who gonna tell them about how bad the boys were in their generation, and all they want is sex.
Oh no!
That's what it's gonna be given. These boys. I'm here to tell you, I was once 17. I was once 17-year-old boy, and I wanted to get some of that nookie too. So you just. That's what choking them is gonna give. Look,
oh my god, y'all.
Anyway, so like clearly, like I said, we needed it, baby. We needed it after Buffalo. We needed a laugh, and thank you, the Girl Keep Your Legs Closed tour, for giving us chuckles, whether intended or not. Thank you, Miss Precious Joy, for your Purity is Precious movement. In any case, this is the Gibson Gazette signing off as we wonder, what are the stories you're telling the world, Precious? Better still, what are the stories you're telling yourself, Dr. Tart, Choke,
your
and
friendship.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.